here. And one of the first things, I like to bring forth is just how, if we look at how Mr. Bridges act, how he handled that situation, because when Coach Taylor came to him, and just right at the beginning of this verse, he says, "Do you really believe that God told you that?" And Mr. Bridges had to stand firm on what God had said. How many times has God has ever said anything to you and you doubted it? Or how would you have reacted if, God had asked you to deliver a word and somebody would have come right back to you and you really weren't sure? And Mr. Bridges, without a shadow of doubt, without a flinch, he just said, "Yeah, I believe it. I believe he told me to tell you." So, that was a reassuring fact, for Coach Taylor at that point. For him to really be able to really just go into a point where he was able to tell Mr. Bridges, "Look, I'm struggling. I done had some issues. I got some things going on. But I still been praying. Nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. I'm praying, but I'm still going through, and I'm still praying. I'm still hanging in there." So that's, y'all tell me your thoughts. How you feel?
I need for you to, can you read that scripture again? Because I can,
Okay, which one? The one that I read?
the one he gave him.
I know thy works. Behold, I have set before you an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou has little strength, and has kept my word, and has not denied my name.
And so, and the interesting thing about it is, many times we don't understand why we're going through what we're going through for the period of time we're going through it. Because God got to test out all them things, all them areas he just mentioned.
Right.
You got little strength, but you kept my word and you kept my works. And so it takes time for you to go through these trials and some of these tribulations for God to know that you're set and you're standing. And that's, a lot of times, that's what gets us to that blessing or to that next place is God got to see you faithful. Here, it really boils down to you in any situation, are we going to stay faithful? Because in any situation, nothing but the enemy trying to stop you from being faithful. Trying to throw you off course, trying to get you to do something different, trying to get you to doubt God. And the whole time we're going through, it all boils down to, are you going to stay faithful? Are you going to, number one, continue to do my work? Are you, number two, not going to deny my name? Even though you get tired, we talking about wading in that pool, waiting, and we talking about mounting up, and you got little strength, and we waiting on the Lord. It's the same thing. We waiting on the Lord, and many of us like, okay, now we a good time. I'm really tired. And that's when the test really kick in. Because that's it, when you really tired, you really want to do something different. But you got to wait on God. But as we all know, in our relationship with God, it's worth it. It's worth the wait. Of course, we don't see that naturally. But and that's what in our consistent relationship with God, consistent conversation with God, we are constantly reaffirmed that he will deliver or he will do what he promised. But if we're not staying in that consistent relationship with God, consistent conversation with God, so we can get reaffirmed, we can keep our confidence and stand firm like Mr. Bridges did.
That's right.
Because the enemy gonna come daily to get you to doubt it. No, I'm not delivered from this situation. I'm not ever going to be delivered from this situation. Here come the devil going to show you something every day to make you go backwards. And that's why we have to, prayer is important, study is important, consistent fellowship is important, because that guards against the enemy taking over your mind. Well, as Pastor talked about, that mind club. 99.9% of our deliverances depends on whether we believe it or not.
That's right.
The other 1%, God do it. He already done it. It's already done. We just got to walk in it.
And if you the stuff you don't see is also critical. Because now, he done had a few losing seasons, right?
Mhm.
Now, everybody on that team was with him from the beginning. Everybody's on that team right there. They done, ever since they've been in their high school, they've been having a losing season. Don't know why he took over the head coach job. Don't know what happened beforehand. Don't know how the town was, but apparently, old boy knew that he had some faith and some religion and all the other facets, because it seemed like that they had conversation before. So it ain't like he just started knowing God, but he just started living it to his players. Now he didn't come in and set a tone in the beginning.
That's good.
So he the whole time that he had opportunity, because all those folks was they were the first coach he's ever known. All those guys up there, because he's been there longer than 4 years.
Right.
Because they losing season been longer than 4
Yeah,
years.
6 years.
Exactly. So he had an opportunity in the beginning to share his philosophy, his way of thinking.
He hadn't done it yet.
He hadn't done it yet. It's apparent that he hadn't done it yet.
That's good.
All that stuff is just matriculating and piling on and getting worse. But the old boy knew he had some faith, because he came in and shared it with him. Don't look like that's the first time he went and talked to him either. But sometimes God would allow things to get worse
So we can
because the impact is greater. So not only did he affect, because I'm pretty sure he changed that whole town when it was over with.
Yeah, because they infected families. Each
Exactly.
each football player had a family.
And the old boy came and brought him a truck. I mean, his son was talking junk to him.
And then
Like, I could care less about you.
And he's like, I know that's some power, something going on.
And he wasn't a freshman either. I don't believe. So, I mean, all this time that he had there, he hadn't stopped being a believer. But you know what? The thing about it is, when old boy read it to me, like, you know what? You haven't wavered. You didn't do all that you could have done, but you ain't just give up. Exactly. You ain't do all that you could have done, but you didn't give up.
Right.
And because even though you have taken your time to get where you are now, because now you got to do something. Because it's at the rock bottom, all things, everything done dropped out. Hair done broke loose. So something, even in your life, something has to occur.
Something gotta change.
So all this time, you've been knowing me, but you haven't really exercised your faith.
Next level.
Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly what happens. And people, we don't understand, even in marriages, even in relationships, even in our relationship with God, stuff begins to happen to let us know it's time to go to the next level. And so many times we're going through stuff ain't going right, this ain't going right, that ain't going right. And it's all because many times God is trying to get us to go to that next level. And his next level was, I know me, I know you kept my word, you did my word, you were wholehearted. Now it's time for you to share it. And that takes a whole nother responsibility, a whole nother level of trust that God has to have in us for us to be able to share it with others. Because
that's as Pastor said, the outcome. Because I don't know what the folks, I mean, especially if you're losing. But why you gonna tell my son about religion?
We losing.
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of stuff could happen.
You got to be unwavering.
Yep.
And to trust that you're going to get us out of this seemingly rock bottom situation where it looks hopeless.
The unseen.
That's what I also went in this verse where it talks about little strength.
Yes.
He put him in a situation where, he had basically just brought him down to his knees.
Yeah.
There was really nothing else that he could do. And I also I looked up this scripture at 2 Corinthians 12:10. It says, that is why for Christ's sake I delight in weakness and in insults and hardship and persecutions and difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Right here it's basically telling him, he said in his weak times, in the insults, you got to realize how when they had the meeting, they were talking about him. Everybody was talking about Coach Taylor, and what I'm saying, even in some of our situations, you find situations where people are talking about you, sniggling behind your back, saying this, holy roller, holy that. I done heard it all. You ain't changing nothing. You ain't doing nothing. You talking about me? I'm in your mouth.
I know. Something happening.
Amen. But it's just like I said, though, and also just to piggyback off what you all were saying. The thing that we have to realize is even as this whole situation panned out and things begin to change, he only went after one thing. He began changing himself. And as he began to change himself, God began to straighten everything else out.
Seek ye first the kingdom.
He began to straighten everything else out. He straightened himself out first and put himself back in line.
And did what God told him to do.
Did what God said to do. Then everything else. Then the head of the football team got in line. Then the football team started acting right. They had some children. Then he got a raise. Then he got some more raises. Then they started winning.
You got the truck.
Exactly, you got the truck. And this is how things happen. I mean, just recently on Sunday, Sharon and I were going through a situation where our hot water heater went out. The guy came to one of our friends came to the house. He looked at the hot water. He said, the hot water heater. He said, it's busted. It ain't no more good. So we were sitting back toiling all night and all day Sunday, just about thinking about, man, I gotta drop about $400 or $500 on the hot water heater. And so Sharon and I went down to Lowe's, and I told Sharon, I said, look, we might as well go ahead on and get this hot water heater because we need the hot water. I said, God gonna take care of it. I said, if this puts us in a situation where, puts us in a financial situation, I said, God gonna do it. And Sharon kept looking, she would look at me, I said, baby, he gonna do it. So
He got to do it.
that's right, he gonna do it. He gonna do it. That's what he said he gonna do. And so we went ahead and got the hot water heater. So by the time we were going home with the hot water heater, by the time we got halfway home, the guy called us back. He said, y'all take that hot water heater back. Because he had found a $27 piece.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That he could go in and just change that part out. And he went in and we went back and took the hot water heater back. We went and bought that little $27 piece, and about 30 minutes to 45 minutes later, we had some hot water in the house. And God had just did it. And the thing was, I told Sharon, I said, God was testing us to see if we were going to just buy that hot water heater and trust Him. To see if we were going to buy that hot water heater and just trust and believe that He was going to do whatever we needed for Him to do in order for us to get through if it came to that point. And what I'm saying, I couldn't do nothing. Y'all heard me, y'all seen me going and yelling.
About to take off.
And something else too, earlier that day, you might not have seen this, but I got with Pastor C and Cassandra, and we had intercessory prayer on that water heater. I said, God, I need you to move, either create some provisions or do something different. And it says the word, with 2 or 3 gathered together, I'd be in the midst. And so 3 of us got together and we touched and agreed on that one thing, and no choice. So
I was already believing on the hot water heater before y'all did that.
So you had already activated your part.
You just got knocked out prayer. See?
Because normally she tell me something like that, man, she don't throw no stuff around on man.
So it's already
Also, I know we're talking about Mr. Briggs. And think about, what he said the coach tell him when he began to tell him the story about the 2 farmers. I mean, really, are we in that situation? Are we in that place where we're looking to God, looking for God to do something? And it's almost like we're stagnant. You ever been at a stagnant point where you just feel like, man, ain't nothing. I just feel like I'm in the same place. I mean, do you still? I mean, are we still? Because do you still feel like, are you? Well, not do you still feel like, but are you still doing what you're supposed to do in order for you to receive? Go ahead, Pastor Thomas.
From my own experience, there was a point in time where I wasn't, and that's why I tell people, when we preach, we have to be first partakers. And so, ain't no sermon I've ever preached that God never had to deal with me first. And with that said, there was a time when I was in consistent prayer. And I was praying, but it wasn't the same as I used to pray. And so I noticed changes, but at the same time, it was part of a process. I can say that because, again, I talk about I know who I am, what I am, and what my calling is. And so God was trying to show me something about non-consistent and consistent. And so when I wasn't consistent, things weren't right. Things just weren't going properly. You know. And then God said, now, be consistent. And so he called me back in. I started being, and things just would just popping, just pop, pop, pop. I mean, really. I mean, with the ministry and different things like that, going with just stuff just popping off. And God was trying. Now share that message. That's why I'm always talking about consistency, consistent prayer. Because many of us will stop doing what we used to do for God. You know, God looking at us and what have you done for me lately?
Right.
And we like, stuff ain't going right, stuff ain't this and stuff ain't that. We gotta look at what's not consistent. And so that was something that I learned about going to the next level and different things like that. Was we have to learn how to be consistent in our prayer, consistent in our relationship, and that gives us that faith to prepare for what's coming and have that confidence. Okay, here it comes. It's coming. And I was raising my hand because I said I was feeling stagnant, and I was stagnant because I wasn't being consistent in what I was supposed to be doing for Him. And once I started getting back in consistency, stuff started popping off, and things started moving, things started changing, people started changing, atmosphere started changing, environment, workplace environment change, all that kind of stuff. And so he's looking at me like, you sitting there trying to figure out why stuff ain't going right. And I'm looking at you, asking you why you not being in consistent prayer. You know how they say, you looking at God looking right back at you.
And the thing is, it actually works in all aspects. I mean, and the thing about it is the way God operates, He allows us to do things in the natural that mimics or mirrors what we should be doing in the spirit when we see how they correlate, because it's the same way in relationships. When you're not consistent in your relationship, then folks wondering about what's going to be next. Are they going? This going to happen? You know what? So you can't really prepare for something because you don't really know what's going to be ready to pop off.
That's right.
Because there's no consistency.
Right.
But when you're consistent and you still doing the same thing despite what you see and what's going on, then folks be like, okay, this for real.
Lay something down.
Right, yeah, this is for real. So the relationship, just like with God, He like, okay, I can trust them because they consistent. They ain't wavering.
Right.
It ain't depending upon whether they actually feel the moisture or like the humidity is high here, so it's gonna rain. So that consistency, even in relationships, that despite what's going on, as long as you're consistent, then whether people want to believe it or not, they're gonna hit on up like, okay, ain't nothing I can say because they the same. Regardless of how I treat them or how I get upset and ugly, they still trying to treat me the same, But at some point, it's gonna rain. It's gonna be a breakthrough.
Right.
If you consistently preparing for that rain. Like I don't care what I see, I know it's gonna rain. God says it's gonna rain. I'm looking for the rain. I'm gonna keep on treating you the same way till I get that rain.
And that's one thing that I can consistently say. I ain't gonna say that I've been doing it every day. But in the past couple of weeks, I've been listening to Pastor Coleman and listening to Pastor Eric, and they would talk about how they have prayer closets and they have prayer rooms. And then when Apostle came here, he was talking about how he has a prayer closet and how his wife has a prayer room. I'm like, hold on. I need me a prayer closet. I need me a prayer room. So basically, what I've been doing, I might go in the bathroom, or either in the middle of the night, Sharon might wake up in the middle of the night. She hear me praying and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm not doing it consistently every night, because it's something that I'm trying to, I'm trying to gradually, add. So, but I'm still doing it. But, but then when the storm came, I saw a difference. I saw the difference. I saw how instead of how I would normally act, but I saw an opportunity for me, to speak into a situation and allow and step back and